The psychology of a hater, how their obsession built my growth. When enemies reveal more about themselves and unknowingly sharpen you, by Lovette Jallow. The hidden lessons, how critics and enemies sharpen my growth. There are moments in life when feedback arrives, wrapped not in kindness but in hostility. Sometimes the most honest feedback comes laced with hostility, delivered by those rooting for your failure. Whether out of envy, resentment, or their own woundedness. And yet, what they offer, often unknowingly, is something far more useful than a friend's well-meaning silence. A truth you might otherwise overlook. See, it took me time to see it clearly. Criticism from those who disliked me often struck deeper, not because it was wrong, but because it was unfiltered. There was no softening, no careful delivery. It was aimed to wound. But within that wound, there was often a mirror as well. A reflection of something I had been too comfortable, too tired, or too proud to confront. Many years ago, sitting with this realization, I wrote a reflection. I kept it tucked away, but I return to it often, especially when a harsh word cuts deeper than intended and reminds me that even adversaries can become unwilling teachers. I share it here now, exactly as I once wrote it, unedited, titled, "My enemies love me more than my friends." My enemies love me more than friends. They point out flaws, show where to mend. They highlight weakness, reveal the cracks, the missing skills, the things I lack. They push me higher, make me strong, break bad habits, prove me wrong. My friends wish me well. They want me to be the best of myself, in joy and in ease. They offer feedback when I seek. Their love and support steadfast, not meek. But enemies, watching closer than friends, catch the slips, the gaps, the missing bends. Sharp truths they hurl, meant to wound or slight, yet hidden inside a sharpening light. Unexpected gifts they send, lessons veiled from hidden admirers, not friends. Still I know where my true bonds lie. I hold my friends close and let envy pass by. For wisdom learns not to mistake the two, the ones who build you, the ones who watch you. When friends heal you and enemies push you to grow. At the time, I was grappling with a tension many experience but rarely name. Friends see the best in us. They want us well. They affirm our goodness, our right to rest, our worthiness, exactly as we are. Enemies, on the other hand, see our weaknesses. They highlight the gaps, whether consciously or not. They become invested in reminding us where we fall short. It would be so easy to dismiss their words as bitterness, and often that is exactly what they are. But buried within many of their critiques are things worth examining, things your friends may not see. Not because enemies wish us well, not because their motives are pure, but because the truth, even when spoken through clenched teeth, can still be true. Their feedback often came uninvited, delivered without care, and sharpened to wound. Yet after the initial sting, once the defensiveness settled, what remained was often something I needed to face. A reminder of an area I had been avoiding, a bad habit I needed to abandon, a skill I needed to refine if I wanted to outgrow the limits I had grown too comfortable with. Growth through adversity, recognizing the different roles of friends and enemies. See, both were necessary, but they served different roles. The danger lies in mistaking one for the other, mistaking a friend's loyalty for a mirror when sometimes it is a balm. mistaking an enemy's sharpness for pure malice when sometimes it is a torch, lighting the cracks we were too proud or too tired to see ourselves. I have learned to be grateful for both, for the people who loved me into rest and those who, even without meaning to, pushed me to growth. When critics imitate mimicry, criticism, and moving forward, I have lived these lessons firsthand. Years ago, when I was working hands-on to drive inclusion across Sweden's fashion, beauty, and corporate industries, organizing events, consulting brands, creating opportunities, and directly challenging exclusion, a woman, also Black, and active in some of the same spaces, went out of her way to slander my work. I still do this work today, but at a higher level, building strategies, shaping policy, and guiding institutions from a position they once tried to deny me. This lady dismissed what I was building publicly, but almost immediately began pursuing the same paths as I did: fashion, beauty, and visibility for some reason. Later, when I authored my first book, she announced plans for her own, proposing a project titled 101 Black Women, and contacting many of the same people featured in my work. The concept was widely declined. Many felt it was derivative, and the idea of numbering Black women in Sweden like collectibles left a bitter taste, drawing uncomfortable comparisons to 101 Dalmatians rather than honoring Black individuality. It became a pattern. Whenever I entered a new arena, beauty, publishing, or activism, there were efforts to undercut, discredit, or stir conflict. What they did not realize was that each time they followed me into a space, it was just a signal my time there was complete. It was time for me to move forward, to ascend to something new. When I shifted from frontline activism to writing my second book, the pattern repeated. They followed again, still unaware that my heart had already grown weary of the death threats, weary of always being on call, weary of managing crisis across borders whilst trying to hold the center together. By the time they tried to mimic the work, my decision had already been made months before. I had chosen to leave, and I luckily was able to declare it within my book in a chapter where I wrote, "Take it, stand on the top of this mountain where every stone thrown will find you. Take from my work if you must, because racism never pauses, and neither can the work. But my rest is earned. My rest is deserved." See, I never fought about it. I never stayed to wrestle over visibility or ownership. I moved forward because my work has never been about staying in arenas where the goal is imitation or smallness. Looking back, the pattern is even clearer to me. Those who spend their time studying my work, reacting to my moves, and chasing the spaces I had already outgrown were never forging their own paths. They forever remained in shadows. By focusing on me, they remained stuck, trapped in comparisons that they could not escape, measured against a blueprint they did not create. Meanwhile, I was minding my business, and they were minding my business too. Two parties, one focus. No wonder the work I built kept growing whilst they stayed circling the shadows of what had already been done by me. In the end, their obsession became something I could use, a form of unpaid feedback, revealing not just what they envied, but what I had already surpassed. They were trying to shadow what I was building, but their actions became confirmation that it was time for me to build something even bigger. See, my grandmother's words will forever guide me. She brought me into this world. And no matter where I was in the world on birthdays, when she was alive, she would call and remind me, "Lovette, When a child is born, what is theirs is written across their forehead. What they shall achieve already placed in motion. No human is bigger than the universe that claimed you. We showed you to the world and welcomed you 7 days after your birth. Let any man try to interfere and they will tire. They will exhaust themselves against what was never theirs to change. Yeah, boy. Mother in Wolof. Closing reflections, how criticism and conflict reveal hidden truths. There is no virtue in romanticizing hostility, trust me. Not every wound is worth gratitude. Not every critic deserves a seat at your table. But when a blow lands and something inside you recognizes a sliver of truth, pause, examine it carefully, and decide whether it is something to fortify, sharpen, or discard. In doing so, you can reclaim your agency, because even your adversaries become unwilling accomplices in your ascent, handing you, in their attempts to tear you down, the blueprints for building something stronger they can't reach. Thank you for listening to me today.